Today we're with Mike Henry, Global Color Tools and Variant Manager for PPG Automotive Refinish. Mike's going to share with us some information about how they come up with prime and variant colors for their refinish systems. Mike, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Jason. I appreciate the opportunity to talk to the audience about how we build our color tool library and how we actually go about getting the primes and variant formulas they need to repair cars.
So why is it so important for paint companies to make sure that they've got both the prime and variant colors available for their customers?
Jason, for a paint company to be successful, our customers have to be successful. For them to be successful, they have to get repairs done efficiently and meet the quality expectations of their customers. To do that, we really have to be able to answer two questions. Do we have a paint formula for the car that's being repaired? And can the painter find that formula in our database?
Now, I would imagine that PPG's got a lot of different prime and variant colors. What kind of library are we looking at?
We've got 3.5 million colors in our library. Of course, that's across all our refinish paint lines. But it all starts with the prime formula. Prime formulas come from the OEMs, right? We have the OEM color standard, and from that, we match that color in all our paint lines so that painters have a place to start. It's also the starting point for variants.
So what's the first step for PPG when it comes to identifying those prime colors?
PPG gets its prime colors from the OEMs. We have access to the OEM standards because PPG is also a Tier 1 supplier of the OEM car manufacturers. Now, once we have those standards, sometimes it can be 2 years ahead of time. So we know what's in the color because we had to formulate it for the Tier 1 supplying, but we also then know when that color is going to hit the market.
So PPG Refinish works very closely with your OEM team.
Absolutely. We share information on not only just the colors, but where the colors are going to be manufactured as well.
So if we have a prime formula, why do we need a variant formula?
Well, the prime formulas are the ideal standard, right? But as everybody knows, once processes in manufacturing, things don't always go perfectly. So a color on a vehicle, this Dodge Dart for instance, is just an artifact of the application process in the assembly plant plus the Tier 1 supplier's batch of paint. So for instance, that same blue might be on a Dodge Ram, okay? So if you have the color going on a sedan versus a light truck, the robot pathing is completely different. Okay. All right, and variation comes into play. So the ideal standard may not look like either one because of the different application in the assembly plants. And it's also true from overseas assembly plants. So we'll talk about that later. But variation enters into the way this color is laid down, and it can be thought of as the prime plus application equals what's on the car.
Well, that's some good information to know. I think a lot of our customers are probably interested in learning exactly why we have all these different variants. So what exactly does PPG's variant program look like?
PPG has a variant team that's very well schooled in the causes of variation for color coming out of the assembly plants. And they run multiple programs to get the documentation needed to supply painters with the best variant information. The first program is our port of entries. The second program is our car parts program. And a third source is our customer request program.
So tell me a little bit about this ports of entry program that you have.
Jason, we've got color specialists stationed at the ports of entry around the U.S. Their job is to look for color trends that we may not see yet in any of our other programs because these are brand new cars off the boats. Occasionally we can find also colors we don't have documentation from the car companies, right? But really they're looking for the variation that's in the new manufactured vehicles. They do color audits, but they also do color matching on the spot. So they're there to help the logistics companies and their body shop at the port come up with formulas that are exact matches to those cars because they get dinged up moving around off the boats and in that lot. So it's very important that they look brand new when they leave the lot And these guys are the best at coming up with color formulas that actually match.
Okay. And so then those turn into part of some of the variants that are available to the automotive aftermarket?
Yes. First, they're defined as field specials, and we add those to the database, so they're visible to painters right away. The physical documentation that comes with the variant then comes later when we do trend analysis and a variant team gets a chance to look at all the different special formulas and the audit information, and that's when they get promoted to a variant.
Okay. Well, the ports of entry program sounds pretty interesting and unique. What about the car parts program that you mentioned?
Car parts program is very important to us. We publish a list of car parts we want, and we work in collaboration with the sales force to get those from the body shops. Now, those basically fill the gaps, okay? And we look at those when we do audits for all the trending in all the OEM colors. We also have a hot list. Now, hot list we publish, and we're looking for car parts for either really difficult colors, exotic colors, or colors that we know that there's variation in and we just don't have a part for it yet.
So how does a part or a color get on that list?
We do audits, of course. We work closely with the OEMs, so we know what all the car colors are in a given program for a given model year. So we look at that model year and we do audits. What do we have car parts for? What do we have special formulas for, which are those field formulas? Yep. And then what do we have variants for? So when we see gaps, those go on a car part list. That's what we're looking for. And then hot colors, of course, are sort of like the hot button for the market. So those are ones we know painters are having trouble with, that we really want physical documentation so we can build formulas on those.
Great. So you mentioned a third program as well, that dealing with actual customers and getting parts and colors from them. How does that program work?
Well, that is our customer color request program. Okay. Here, it's like a car parts program where the body shop will actually send us a car part, right? Now, they see stuff that maybe we missed, or maybe it was a previous repair, but it's really good information for us. Again, it's filling gaps. And so we'll formulate a special formula for that particular repair in that shop. Okay. That gets added to the database as well. The goal here is always that the painter has a formula that he needs to repair the car. And that's how, between the car parts program, the port of entries, and the customer request program, we fill it all out, right? We're trying to get them what they need when they need it.
It kind of goes back to your original statement a while ago about, making sure that PPG's got a color that's going to meet their needs, and then that technician being able to find that color.
Correct. And then that gets us to the point, how do they find the color, right? So we have all these formulas in a database. How do they get to it? Well, we have Paint Manager color software, which is the user's interface with that huge database. All right, so that way they can not only find all these formulas, but they can also look up the color tool location so they can find actually a sprayed chip that matches the formula that they're going to spray on the car. And this is really important because painters are visual craftsmen. They think with their eyes. Yep. And providing that type of physical documentation as well as matching it in a database is so important to them and leads to really, them being efficient in a body shop.
We've got the variants identified, we've put it in the database, and then how is that chip deck created? What's the process for that?
When we see that there's a true trend for this color, so it really deserves to be called a true variant, it's not just a special or a group of specials anymore. We then take that formula and we turn it on in the database as a proposed variant. At that point, we put it in the chipping program and we create sprayed chips for that formula.
Actual sprayed chips?
Actual sprayed chips with the refinished paint. The same refinished paint the painter's using. All right, this gives a lot of credibility from the visual point of view for the painter, but then when those chips are manufactured and they're produced and we are ready to send them out as updates, that's when we change the name to agreed variant in the database. Now the painters know that chip's on its way. So we sort of warned them it's coming, and now it's coming, and now they have something they can find in the database because we'll have a color box location there for them, easy to find, easy to use.
if I'm a customer and I've got one of these parts or one of these colors that I'm not sure about how to mix, what do I need to do to get that to you?
Okay, what the shop will do is they'll, first of all, provide a color sample, generally in terms of a car part that's off a piece of the repair area on a car. Or it could be anything, like a gas cap or a mirror housing.
Okay.
We prefer steel, though.
Okay.
And they'll contact the territory manager and work with them to collect all the information on the color, the make, model, and year of the car, and that's all information the variant team will use then, and it fills in the gaps, right? But they work through the sales force, the territory manager, to get that to the color lab, so we can start working on that and turn that request around so that vehicle can get out of the shop and back into the customer's hands.
Great. 3.5 million formulas, that's an awful lot of color. Well, I think it's great that PPG's got so many different options for getting these variants created so that we can find the most blendable match possible. Also want to thank you for your time today. I appreciate it very much.
Thanks, Jason. Thank you for having me on the show. It's been a pleasure.